Hi, my name's Scott and this is how I wallpaper a feature wall. First thing I like to do is I like to roll out that wallpaper. See that pattern? This pattern, we've got a bird sitting right at the top and he's a central part of this paper. I want the wallpaper to look balanced on this wall. So I know the bird is in the middle of the paper. Here's the middle of the wall. So my setup is half the paper, 35 centimeters to the left. That should give me a bird in the middle. Use a spirit level to draw a straight line. I don't trust myself, so I also laser it as well. It was fine, but for some reason I feel like I have to do double. It's all good. We're using paste the wall paper, which is really lovely to use. Real good tip is to chop off those instructions at the top if you got any. They only end up falling upon you. First bit of wallpaper is probably the most important part. You need the pattern to be central. You don't want to cut off half a bird. You don't want any bubbles. You need it to be straight for this next bit. As I say, we use some paste the wall. I like to refresh the edges just so I know they're not going to creep up over time. Some people like to pre-plan and cut all the pieces so it's quite quick and easy, but with paste the wall you can just go straight off the roll. You can see that my pattern's all matched up. I know exactly where it is, so I set the seam, cut the top and cut the bottom for minimum wastage. Then I repeat this pattern until I go to the one edge of the wall. For some reason I like to work from the middle to the left first, or whichever way the window is not, working away from the light source. Although I've got a massive lamp behind me, so it doesn't make any sense. Always check and make sure that you're not bubbling up the paper or creasing the paper as you're working. On a nice chill playlist, I know, something like Pink Floyd is always good to listen to when you're hanging wallpaper. I'm happy with this. I cut the bottom. I just want to double check, set the seam. You can manipulate the paper if needs be. You can push the seams together a little bit if you're not too happy, but don't over push them. You could either crease or tear the paper. Got to remember to be gentle. Now when dealing with sockets, make a small hole first in the middle of the socket. Cut to each corner, making relief cuts, and then bring through the socket. Fold back the excess paper and carefully cut the excess away. When the socket goes back on, it'll look nice and seamless, like it's always been there. Here's the socket back on, just making sure that all the cuts were okay. Very happy with that. Now the last piece in the corner, because I measured out and worked everything out, it was only, I don't know, about 10 mil around the corner. But if you've got loads of paper going around the corner, trim the paper so it's a lot easier to work with. If you've got too much excess paper going around the corner, it can crease, wrinkle the paper, which is difficult. Again, set the seams, relief cut in the top corner and the bottom corner with a pair of scissors so you can fold around the corner, top and bottom. Using your Stanley blade, getting a nice cut on the corner with the Wool Whiz and your snap off blade. Make sure you snap off your blade, get a nice sharp blade for this. Once you've done your top corner and bottom cut, we can go back to the center and start going the other way. There's something to keep in mind as well, to run alternative rolls of paper. This could save a lot of the pattern and you could gain like an extra length if you do this, because you're not wasting that extra pattern. Another thing that I haven't mentioned yet, but after every bit, make sure you're wiping off any excess paste that you have on the wallpaper between the seams, making sure you get the ceiling, the skirting boards, because if you leave that excess paste on, it's just going to stain the paper, or the woodwork, or the ceiling cornice. Just grab a sponge or a cloth and clean it off there and then, like I just did there. Now we're coming up to the radiator, and I must admit the first bit I didn't record. My customer gave me a cup of tea. I know, how unbelievably British am I? I forgot to hit the record button. But in this room they are having a radiator cover, and they didn't want to take the radiator off. Not ideal, but it's not an issue. I tend to cut and tuck so it doesn't draw your eye to it and the pattern goes right behind the radiator. Do this technique, make sure you got that straight line top to bottom. For your next bit, when you cut and tuck, you can just line it up perfectly. Here I am on this side doing a cut and tuck and also a switch, which was quite awkward because it was quite a tight space to be working in. Again, with the corner, relief cuts is always your friend at the top and bottom corner. Once all your cuts are done, the cut and tucks, the switch and everything like that, then you can start doing the top, bottom and the side. Here we have the finished article, guys. Really happy with how this wallpaper came out. It was 9 bits in total and it just transformed this room. Thanks for watching me do a 4-minute ramble about wallpapering. Anything else, just let me know.